You see, every time you meditate, you lighten your load. Every time. Amma says meditation is like gold. Meditation and sutras, we walk around and we carry what I call a karmic pack on our backs. And we're heavier and heavier and heavier. And every time we meditate, we let go a little bit of that stuff. We just let go a little bit of it. So that the next time you get challenged by somebody in some way, instead of reacting, there's a little more consciousness in there, and spontaneously you go, and you might stop, and you might not react. Because every time you react, you add more to your karmic pack. You add and you heavy your load. So meditation neutralizes your karma to a point where little reaction, no more accumulation of karma. And thus you continue to act out this lifetime with the past karma, but there's no more adding on. And what I mean by that, that's why once enlightenment occurs, you still behave in the same sort of way. You're still the same conditioned self, but you're not adding any new karma because you're not attached to it. Yes.
How does that fit reacting and activate? How, if you're activated in your stuff, isn't that the same as you're reacting and you're adding karma? I mean, all of our stuff has been, we're in the middle of activation here, 7 days.
Let's talk about that and the difference between reaction. And the big thing is when we react means somebody says something to us and there's a reaction and then an action. A reaction occurs first of all inside, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's some action. And that action might be, well, you shouldn't do that, and you shouldn't do that. It's that action that creates, the subsequent action that creates the karma. If the reaction is only internal, and that reaction is internal and then it's allowed to move, to go, even if it comes back again and reacts again and allowed to go, then you're not accumulating a lot of new karma. It's when somebody says something, you react, you act, and you buy into the belief system that you're a separate person, and what you do is you lock in the karma of the egoic self being something separate from the wholeness. You're not actually seeing in that moment. You've lost understanding, you've identified with the thought, you said it to me, and you've reinforced that. And reinforcing ego is just accumulating that karma. Activation means like the stuff is coming up, and that's good, because what's coming up is you're popping those popcorn seeds we talked about. They're kernels. Mm-hmm. Life is heating up. They're blossoming, and the karma's coming up, and they're coming up, and the more they're coming up and witnessed and let go, the more they're coming up, witnessed, let go, then what you're doing is you're beginning to stabilize in a higher state of consciousness.
Mm. Is that the same as not building the story? Not going into the story?
Exactly. When you build the story, what are you really building? You're building a false sense of who you really are.
Identification with it.
With ego.
Mm-hmm.
I'm separate. That person did something to me. A you and a me. Now we're in duality. And that's the cause of the whole kit and caboodle. Mm. The whole problem. There's a you and a me. When understanding gets deeper, a reaction might occur, but understanding is so deep, that the reaction occurs and then it comes back down, because there's such a deep recognition. There is no you and me. And in fact, what starts to happen is when you do react to someone, that gives you pause in the in the intermediate stages where many of you are, gives you pause for inquiry. Oh, there's reaction, and the next question is, oh, what a nice mirror. That's when understanding is at beginning to intermediate stage. You know, you can't push yourself ahead of evolution. You have to just be where you are and know that that's a really good spot. Allowing yourself to be where you are. So.
Can the action of an emotion, like guilt, be an action? And can guilt, an emotion, be an action?
Yes. And what guilt is a misunderstanding. It's pragya parad, it's a mistake of the intellect.
But it's
It's
still
belief.
having to do with the ego, it's still identifying, it's in that same...
Guilt is the other side of pride, the other side of the coin of pride. Guilt is saying, I should have done something different, or I did something to someone else. Once again, what you are is you're caught in the illusion that there's a me and a you, instead of the perfection of whatever action occurred at that time happened. And also the deep perception that there isn't a you and a me. This whole idea is rising right now. Life is created, not caused. And when you deeply understand that life is created, not caused, that's the end of guilt. If it's created in this moment, there's no I to have done it to you. It's all part of totality. Totality is all functioning right now. Therefore, and totality is all a script written with respect to the destiny of whatever needed to happen. Everything that needed to happen blossomed right then. So the illusion that the ego takes is, oh, I did this to my husband, and I shouldn't have done it, and gosh, I wish I could have done it, and we go around and around and around. And that kind of story locks in and reinforces the illusion that there's a separate I, and I did something to you. Now, the other side of that one is, you did something to me. Now you become a victim. You know, you're either a perpetrator or a victim. What are those? Opposites. What rises always in this dimension? Opposites. Opposites rise, and so we stay hooked into the bondage of this dimension as long as we believe in that paradigm. If we don't, if we let go of that and allow it to be as it is, and truly understand that in this dimension, in reality, there's only one. There's only one. You're only appearances in this one lively, joyful dance of energy. You're appearances. And if I move this way, you move that way, it's all destined. So if somebody slaps me here, that could have been destiny. If I slap them back, it's destiny. If someone says something to you and you say something back, it's illusion when you take it back to yourself and say, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, or why, you know, why does that person keep behaving in that way? And they keep behaving in that way for you, because it's your movie. There's no other way. It's all totality. It's your movie to wake you up so you begin realizing you're not separate. Yes, Kelly.
So going back to the karma, action doesn't have to be outward, it can be an inward action.
Yes, because karma means, first of all, there's different kinds of action. There can be subtle action, and subtle action is a thought. It can be a thought. Now, if a thought just comes and goes vertically in time and space, that's fine. There's no karma. It just moves. If karma then comes as a subtle object, that is as just a thought, such as guilt or pride, and it starts moving horizontally, like, oh God, I shouldn't have done that, and I'm leaving my husband, and oh God, kids, and and you start thinking about it, perseverating about it, around and around. As soon as you find yourself in that quagmire, you ask yourself, who is there to be guilty? Who is there that's really leaving? You ask that question. Ask, who is that I? Who is that me that's leaving? When in fact, once you penetrate through that, you'll see there's no me leaving. You'll see that there's leaving. You'll see that there appears to be a separation in that, but you didn't leave. Because behind that idea of guilt is the implied idea that you made some free decision, some free choice, some decision to leave, when in fact the separation was occurring from the perspective of the totality. It's just the natural manifestation of loving allness. It is what it is.
Does that create, if we go into those inward thoughts, that creates karma as well as an outward?
It creates karma to the extent that you continue to reinforce that there's a separate me that made that decision, there's a separate me that feels guilty, or there's a separate me that says, Yahoo, I have to do this right now because I can't stand it anymore.
Busted.
And then that reinforces your karmic load. So this is just for understanding. It's not trying to create a technique. It's just for understanding. Yes,
So-
Melina. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me finish.
So resting and allowing.
In resting, in allowing, you're moving like the stream down there. You're moving like the stream. You're running into your obstacles, and you just move around your obstacle. You move with it. Life has you. You don't have it. Everything that happens in life are more events rather than anything else. Everything that's happening is an event, and it's all happening now.
Cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
So,
This is a hard one.
I know, because you're talking about totality.
Yeah.
And that's
you're,
not
you're an appearance in that totality.
Right. Now, how do you look at cause and effect?
Well, the way I look at cause and effect, it's a limited perception by the mind that creates an apparent continuity in this dimension, so we even have this dimension. It's not real. It's a perception of the mind only that A causes B. Because the truth is that life, if A causes B, implied within that, there's an A and a B. There's duality. There's separation. When in fact, there's only totality. There's only wholeness. There's only loving allness. There's only the quantum field. Only told, oh, we're all part of this wholeness, and now out of this wholeness, every instant, creation is manifested. Everything is manifested from this wholeness.
So it is a cause and effect of totality, though.
No, it's all, let's say, it's all conceived in loving wholeness. It's all conceived in consciousness, and then it blossoms forth. It just appears through our perception that something caused something else. This is very tricky and takes lots of inquiry, and the way to really get this through your heart, there'll be a flash will you really understand this? I could, yeah, go ahead before.
Well, I guess all I was, because my mind goes into the mathematical, scientific,
And if your
I
mind
know.
goes into the logical part of
the
it,
physical realm.
it's very, very difficult. This is a perception that occurs through the heart. And even this is logical. There's something called chaos theory, and there's a couple of other, science has really moved in this direction.
Mhm.
Because it was the old Newtonian physics that said A causes B causes C.
I read a little.
Linearity.
Okay.
Linearity in time is an illusion.
Okay.
What's happening, the only thing that's happening is right now. And now that's gone. And now, all the molecules and atoms and things are flashing on and off, on and off.
And that
Creation,
is-
destruction, creation, destruction. You're being born and you're dying every moment. It's only the illusion of this brain, this mind, that creates a continuity that makes it appear that we're all here for a certain amount of time.
And in science, or in history too, there's that inquiry that led us to grab onto that. Is that not true?
That's
Well, we
all-
got away from,
Right.
okay, because I read a little, so that's good.
It's all happening that way. Yes, Robert.
So, if the law of causes and effect exists just like, I don't know if it's even a bad analogy, but exists just like a person can travel in an airplane in a 3D hologram. So it's just something that exists, correct? For the 3D movie.
Right.
So then karma isn't really karma then.
Right.
And karma is just crap. Because
well, let's
because-
explore it a
because-
little deeper than that.
because if it's karma, it's just to act out the 3D movie, and something would have happened, then it's just part of the whole game, or video, however you want to say it, the video game.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, so if you don't buy into that concept or that belief, then it's not a reality.
Right, but what you have, this is one of the things I really want, I've been kind of feeling this out. You want to not pull yourself ahead of your evolution. You want to be able to explore each area. And now, some of you, that's fine. Some of the others, it's important to perhaps look at this karmic kind of thing. Just depends. Just depends. The thing that I wanted to emphasize about the karma is that as long as we have a belief in this dimension, as we see it, and almost everybody here does have a pretty firm belief in that, then that can function for a while. There'll be a time, just like ripe fruit, that the concept of karma will fall out. And ultimately, you will see that there is no creation, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no dissolution. You'll see, ultimately, in a flash of a perception from the heart, you'll see that there is no creation, there is no destruction. It all just is.
It's just consciousness.
Yes. It's all just consciousness. But in the time being, sometimes in talking about these things, and particularly the importance of, because you have a mind body and still to some extent identify with that mind body, what ends up happening because of that belief, and you might say, well, I don't believe that anymore. Well, baloney. You believe it, you function, even if a spiritual seeker, more than half the time for most people. And so what happens with that, as long as you have that belief, then it's good to understand the laws of karma and understand that it can, if you don't do sadhana, at least in the beginning, some meditation and so forth, it's oftentimes hard to line back up and tune back in with that inner energy.
So the way somebody who's awakened or enlightened functions in this realm for us is just our perception of how they're functioning.
That's exactly correct. It's your movie. So you might see, you cannot tell if someone's enlightened or not. Nobody can tell if someone's enlightened. You might think you can, but you can't, because it's through your perception of what you think enlightenment is. And so that's why you can't really judge the behavior of one, of anybody really. You can't tell, because what would happen is they can act like a perfectly normal person. They can act perfectly normal in every single way. And you look and say, well, that person can't be enlightened, because an enlightened person should act this way. And the whole way that you suggest they should act is just your history, your concept. It's just your idea. When enlightenment is something much different. It's a freedom. It's a freedom. It's a deep liberation from which most can't conceive, because they're so identified with their persona.
It's so big. Basically, that's why judgment is bad to begin with, because each individual perceives different people differently. Also, correct?
Yes, that is. But let's just get away from even it's bad. As long as it's there, how do you know it should be there?
Because it should be. But I'm just I miss whatever. Use the wrong
Right.
signpost for it.
Allow it to be simply.
yeah.
Allow it to be simply as it is. Yes, Patty.
I just want to clarify, my understanding of sadhana practice,
Yeah.
the purpose of sadhana practice, whether it be yoga or meditation, is to align all the bodies, all the subtle bodies, bring them into a unity, even if it's just for a moment. But that's the intention.
From the belief that you're a mind-body or a series of bodies, that's right. So you know what I'm saying. To that extent. And when you recognize that I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my subtle bodies, I'm not my soul, and that's just, and you recognize all of that, you inquire and you discover you're not all that, and you discover it through direct cognition, rather than even direct experience, I should say. And you feel that. Everybody here has felt that, even for a second. And when you feel that sublime feeling, that sublime feeling where you're in that stillness, even a moment in that stillness is enough to beckon you back to that well again and again and again. You go out, and then as you go back again and again and again, it allows you to, you start staying there longer. You start seeing the futility of moving into this outer world and trying to grab happiness by this object or that person or that, and you start seeing it more and more, and you start feeling like a week like this where you could rest in your essence. Oh my God, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. I've been looking for it, and it's right in here, in this stillness. It's what I want. It's what I've always wanted. And then you need understanding, because you can start to fall into that and then react back out and not sure. And then as you understand it deeper, you rest deeper in it, and deeper, and deeper. Now, old reactions might come up, old stuff might come up, but it doesn't have the same energy as it once had. It's playing itself out. It's like a fan. Somebody's unplugged a fan, and the propeller is still moving around. Still moving, react, but you go right back to your true self. Yeah, Andrea?
I had asked you about this once before, we didn't have time to talk about it. It seems that the longer we've all been working with you, we are changing our language, and we hear all the time, oh, it is what it is, it's a story, let it go, surrender. It seems like that's almost, or has the potential to be a form of separation too, that the ego is using language as a way not to really do the work. What, can you say something about that?
Yeah, has everyone found that out sometimes? And anything that appears to be a strategy or a quick panacea can be used by the ego. Anything. can be used
The
by
words.
the ego.
And all of it will be.
And all of it will be. That's well said. And
It's
so
interesting.
so the work is once you say that, now you have awareness, you know, you're asking yourself, and that's why instead of, oh, it is what it is, that's a direct statement. That's usually going to be from the ego. That's nice. It's a nice thing, and it helps you out a little bit getting through some things and not accumulating karma. But what really helps is who wants to know?
Okay.
Who's saying it? Asking it. Confront the ego. By confronting the ego, you pull down its cosmic pants and expose its pee-pee. You know, it's just like looking at it. You look at it and you expose it for what it is.
Fourth grade English.
You expose it for what it is by asking, confront. The other question we owe is what do I get for holding on to it? Inquiry. Direct question, because what happens is the mind, intellect, has to answer it. It's its job, and it does. He goes, I got no answer. I got no answer. Ah! And it drops into stillness for a second or more. I got no answer. And then over time, after you've challenged it and asked that enough, slowly the intellect starts to quiet down and starts to recede into the background instead of being in your foreground all the time and in your face trying to figure everything out. And as it recedes into the background, it's so beautiful. Because you start noticing spontaneously your mind like is quiet at times that it was never quiet. And then then you start finding yourself at different periods of time more peaceful, and then the veil might open and you're sunk in a deep, sublime level of peace. And again, then you'll be out in it, because then some people get scared of the peace and they think, oh God, you know, what's happening here? This isn't much fun, because the mind will take over again, and the most boring thing in the world for the mind is stillness. So then it goes back and forth, and that's when you need understanding. Once you understand, there's only one, and you understand what you've always been looking for. And that's the role of the teacher. The only role of the teacher is the teacher holds that space. It's a reference point. It's a beacon in the night. And your boats, and you know you're heading for a destination, and once in a while say, well, you know, I can do it on my own. And all of a sudden you're out there, and for a while you're heading in the right direction. Pretty soon the fog comes in, and you go, help! And the beacon comes on again. And that's the role of the teacher, is to keep you in a reference point until you move across the entire land of samsara. You move across. And the longer you are on the path, the trickier it is. The trickier it is. It's because the ego will get clever and subtly clever. And the whole thing about the teacher is the teacher's job, and I should say consciousness's job, is to seek out and destroy those places you're still holding, those ignorant places you don't see. And so he or she will stir it up. So you have to look at it. And you know, you can love the teacher or get mad at the teacher, but the teacher has to do that. The teacher's worth their salt. Yeah. Oh, Melissa?
Back to Kathy's resting in it brought a question for me of, well then, you know, how do you not be the lazy bum that just, you know, you're not doing anything?
Hold on for a second. Let's go to, since we getting some light. What's the question?
It, you know, the resting in it, and where does the action come from? Where is that keep from the person who would just, you know, whatever.
Well, first of all, who's
But then-
acting? Who's
But then
doing the
it brought
action?
in another thing of, right, that inquiry, and there is no, and you can't vegetate
Yeah,
If you
try it.
can't-
One
right,
guy,
there's
I told
always-
people, I told someone today that the question was exactly that. Let's take the first part first. And they said, well, you know, what if I just don't want to do anything? I'll just lie in bed. I said, try to. You know, one guy made it till 3 in the afternoon one day. Just because he was stubborn. But try to.
Right.
It doesn't, it's not possible not to do anything because each of you are stamped, endowed with unique qualities for which consciousness has a purpose. And so, you're not deciding. And when you get, everybody gets it through their heads that they're not making these decisions, the consciousness animates you like electricity animates a light bulb, and then it moves you to do whatever purpose you're supposed to be doing.
Right, and that brought me to the next level or whatever of that, which is, you already spoken about it briefly, of the working mind versus the thinking mind, or the working planning versus the thinking psychology. And how, I don't see the connection. Where is that ability to work and plan and be organized, where does that fit in?
Well, the working mind, we're just dividing for conceptual purposes. The working mind, and we'll call it the psychological mind. The psychological mind is that mind that has the ability to feel guilty, to ruminate about things, to wonder, you know, be anxious about whether there are bills or anything else. It's that psychological mind, is that mind that's always trying to defend a self-image. It's always like looking around and trying to manipulate things so they look good or that they don't look bad. That's the psychological mind. And that mind is just a big waste of energy. And that psychological mind is always trying to separate you out. It's supposed to, its main ingredient is trying to control. And that's the psychological mind, which is part and parcel with the ego, whose primordial nature is fear. Now that separates out. That's much different than the working mind. The working mind is using the intellect just to function, whether it's in the moment, is an example. When you're doing massage, the working mind is just flowing in this moment. You're in this moment. And you'll be using the working mind when you're trying to plan for clients. The working mind is you have clients calling and you're trying to work out your schedule. The working mind simply is a servant in that case. It's not the master. And what's happened to almost everybody on earth is that psychological mind has become kind of the ruler. It's so much the ruler, the psychological mind or the ego, that all our governmental institutions are based on it. Listen to music, you know, it's all based on the separation and ego. Look at television, look at, as I said, movies. Every drama in life is based on this psychological mind. It took a working mind to create it, but it's our paradigm, it's our world right now. And so, putting your attention on the moment about what needs to be done, and if what needs to be done is some planning, then you use your intellect to plan. But if it's worrying about, oh gosh, you know, I can't fit that person in, action is what happens. The sage acts. You know, when we're stuck in this place of oh, what should I, you'll act. How do you know you should have done what you did? Because you did. You see, it's all perfect. You have nothing to say. You're not the doer. This is a totality that's all functioning in this organic kind of manifestation every moment. And so now when you really get that, you can relax. Just hearing this is rare. Hearing this gives you the opportunity Taking the burden off your shoulders. Don't try to memorize anything here, because the words that come